Howdy, welcome back. So, I've been holding off on doing this video for a while, but I wanted to show you how I bulk load Vision3 500T. And here's a 400 foot reel. Here's the cassettes that I'm going to bulk load that I've been saving, and I made my own stickers. And here's the stuff that I'm going to use to bulk load this film. And it looks pretty authentic. I like it. It's got the 500T Vision label. And I'll show you how I trim the leader by hand to give it that look. It turned out pretty good. Whenever I shoot some film, I like to save the cassettes so that I can use them for bulk loading. You can see this is an old Fuji film cassette. So I like to leave about 3 sprocket holes. That gives me something to hold on to and tape when I bulk load. And I'm using the Lloyd's bulk loader. And I already prepared a 100-foot roll in these canisters, these old black and white canisters. Don't throw them away because you can use them. They got the sprocket or, the center little reel piece that will help you load. So yeah, just hang on to these. They come in handy. And here is my little template deal to help load. I don't know what to call it, but I just used some foam board. It's kind of like a heavier duty foam board, and I used Elmer glue to reinforce it. And this is approximately 100 feet. When you reach that, it'll be 100 feet. This is kind of the way I did it. I used this to measure the film size, and I kind of centered it so that it would be perfectly round here, and gave it some space so that I can put the film on here and wind it on the sprocket. And just by, turning it by hand, I don't have a little crank to get it there, but I cut it out to where this would be 100 feet. And I'll do this in the dark, put the film sprockets on here. And that's kind of what helps me estimate what 100 feet would be. And then I'll bulk load these cassettes. So you'll need a pair of scissors, some tape, an X-Acto knife will help in case you need it for cutting out stuff. So I used some gaffer tape to tape around the edges here just in case light might want to leak through, and up here on the top too, because I don't know, I don't trust it 100%. It's probably fine. Maybe I'm just paranoid. Normally once I get it prepped like this, I'll do it under some subdued light, like the darkroom red light, just in case I don't want any light to leak through those holes. But I'll load this one right here, basically in normal light. It's probably not a big deal. It's not gonna, I definitely load it in the dark because you don't want to have any light. It'll ruin your film. But this process, I usually like to do it in, like I said, subdued light. So I'll get a piece of tape here, probably about 2.5 inches. Sometimes the edge isn't completely square, so I'll pull it out, use my scissors on the edge there to get a straight, flat, cut, so that I have a proper alignment when I line up these film together. And here I'll be very careful. I don't like to pull it out very much because I want to try to at least get 35 shots. I don't think I hardly ever, sometimes I get 36 shots, but you end up losing one frame usually. So I just try to be careful because I don't want to lose any more than I have to. So I like to try to slide it in there because you want to get that felt to like be flush with the edge of the cassette there. Otherwise it won't go in like it did right there. Now that it's more flush, you got to get it aligned in there. You usually got to just try to mate it together. And now it should slide inside there and lock and get ready to crank it on there. This is probably okay. I probably won't leak light, but like I said, I'm kind of paranoid, and so I'll use that tape there in my hand just to make sure. And it tells you how many frames you can get according to how many times you turn the little crank handle. I like to try to get 36 because that's, the standard. You can probably do less if you want to experiment, but yeah, crank it on there real quick. And then we'll pull it out gently. You don't want to pull it out too quick and accidentally lose some frames. So I'll cut the edge here where I have just enough to pull it out by hand, but not anymore, just to try to utilize as much film as possible. And then we'll put it back in here just for safety reasons. And yeah, you don't have to do that, but that's just that's the way I do it, just because. So now you can pull this out at least 5 inches and not have any worries. But I like to pull it out a couple inches and throw it in its container there. And I'll show you how I cut this edge to where it looks like it came that way. And it's pretty simple. It's not real scientific or anything, and definitely isn't like precision, but I like to try to get it as close as possible. So I'll start to cut somewhere around the center here, and I'll turn it, and I'll go about a few inches and just give it a little curve there. And you get the hang of it, or at least I've got the hang of it, where it comes out kind of consistent. So if I don't plan on loading up all the film, I can throw it back in its original box and put it in the refrigerator or freezer in a plastic baggie, and it should be okay for when I want to load the rest. But I've already loaded all of them, and I got about 100 feet already loaded up into this container, and I'll tape the edges just like I did to that one and freeze it. And when I want to bulk load again, it'll be ready for me to load into the Lloyd's bulk loader. And same thing with the main container, the canister here, I'll put it in the freezer too and save it for another day. There's about 200 feet left in that container. And that's about it. That's the way I bulk load. And I do the same thing for black and white. So thanks for watching.